it's really a bright sun today, and or it's cloudy out, or whatever we think of the sun. But just stop and think about it, right? And this really didn't even occur to me until like not that long ago. It's like there is this ball of fire 93 million miles from Earth that's out there in space. Like, what? Like, how is it that there just happens to be this ball of fire, hydrogen, helium, various other elements, this ball of fire 93 million miles away from the Earth? Like, isn't that amazing? And that this ball of fire is, by the way, it's 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. So it's hot. And it's been, I don't know how they estimate this, right? But it was like, it's 4.5 billion years old. And there is an unfortunate thing that it's not going to last forever, that it will eventually burn out, and that's going to happen in 6.5 billion years from now. I don't know how they figured that out. But the Earth is, the sun is so big that you could fit the Earth in the sun 600 times. You could fit all the planets of the solar system in the sun like 100 times or something like that. This is some crazy thing. So the sun is huge. Think of the Earth 600 times you could put the Earth in the sun. And then the sun has such a strong magnetic pull. The gravity, the pull of the sun is so powerful. That's what keeps all the planets that revolve around the sun in their orbit, and they're all at a certain thing, so they don't, there's the Earth, and then you go further out, Jupiter, and so they're all on a certain, diameter going around the sun, wider, wider, wider. And that if it wasn't for this magnetic pull of the sun, the planets would just be floating around randomly. Who knows where they would go? But this sun keeps all the planets completely organized in their orbit, and the Earth, we revolve around the sun. So that the sun, what is the sun? The sun is a ball of fire. All the sun does is its essence, which is fire, to emanate a tremendous amount of thermonuclear energy, just unbelievable heat and light. That's what the sun is and does, because that is its essence. Now, I thought of this. Jesus uses parables and analogies all the time. So what a perfect analogy that is for God when we think of the sun. That the God is this, and let's say like a ball, okay? But and again, we were having a conversation about God being personable on some level, personified. We're created in the image and likeness of God, so there's something there of a connection of that God is, we're conscious, right? We're all aware that we're here, so therefore God is conscious. God is got to be acutely aware of everything that's going on the planet Earth. God is acutely aware of everything that goes on in your life, what has happened. And so God is conscious, God is aware, you and I are aware, and that God is just like the sun is this ball of fire and only emanates heat and light. God is this ball, let's just say, of absolute love. That all this ball can do, if we use that example, all this ball can do is love. Its essence is love, conscious love, and emanating constantly to every one of us. It's all it does is love. That's why when you look at like it goes on the good and the bad, you know, the just and the unjust, and we want to look at it like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, well, but God's like, well, no, I'm not going to differentiate between that, because all I'm going to do is I'm just going to constantly love. And I don't know, I'm going to take a shot at this, that is it like God is going to love, so much so to the point where that the unjust will not be able to resist any longer, and they'll convert. It's like the story with Hosea and Gomer. Hosea the prophet, and Gomer, he marries Gomer, and Gomer goes down to the brothel, and she is like some type of a prostitute. And Hosea goes after her and brings her back, because Hosea loves Gomer. And then Gomer goes back again and is unfaithful. And Hosea gets her, brings her back. And finally Gomer says, after all of my transgressions, after all of my infidelities, you still pursue me. You still come after me. I want you to know from this day forward, I will be your faithful bride. That's the story of Hosea, the prophet, and Gomer. And that's the story of the living God and all of humanity. No matter how many stupid things we do, no matter how many times we can be self-centered or unforgiving or whatever it is, God is just emanating this unbelievable, powerful love. 27 million degrees of love. That's all God does. And that when you think of like how the sun emanates this light and this heat, and what does light and heat produce? It produces life. Life comes out of heat and light. It's the same thing with love. Love produces life. Love creates a quality and a vibrancy of aliveness. Think about it. Think about when you're in love. Man, when you're in love, it's like, you know, everything is great. I love this rain. It's great, right? Snowstorms, blizzards, you call, you name it, it's great. Love, right? It's just like the best drug in the world is love. So powerful. So, and what does that do? When we've all experienced it and it's constantly available to us, it produces aliveness. So I wanted to say that because I think of like, and I was thinking of this prior to what happened the other day in Israel. And it's interesting, I didn't know that Hezbollah, Hamas attacked Hezbollah, is called the Army of God, is what Hezbollah means. So in their brain, they literally think they're doing the work of God. And you know, I don't know if I got this totally right. I'm going to give a little simplistic thing. So that you have Abraham, right? Abraham and Sarah, and God says you're going to have a child, and then Abraham decides, oh well, here's Hagar over here. She's my maid. Maybe this is what God has in mind for me, you know. So he's with Hagar, and they have a child called Ishmael. And God's like, that's not what I had in mind. No, I said Sarah, your wife. And so Sarah and Abraham have Isaac. Now, from my understanding, Ishmael and Isaac, who would be half-brothers, Ishmael becomes the Arab nation, and Israel is from Isaac. So the Arabs and the Jews are half-brothers. But they've been hating on each other for I don't know how long, and I don't know if there's what's the solution to the thing, But essentially, if you track it all the way back, the Arabs and the Jews are half-brothers. And they have it in their head, it's like the Hatfields and the McCoys, who started what? But clearly, I don't care what you think, it is evil to take innocent children and women and men and take them out of their homes. And I don't know whether these people will be seen again. So I don't know what their concept of God is, but there's no way that God is aligned with that behavior, obviously. Right? So we have to take a look at ourselves. What is your concept of God? You know, I like that line. You can only be as big as your concept of God. So that if you think of God as this unbelievable, and again, you know, we were talking about, like, you think of like God, and it's very easy for us to say, well, God the Father, and Jesus is right hand of the Father. You know, he's got this throne up there. And he's seeing, you know, who's good and who's bad. But like, you know, that's what we kind of grow up with. But if you think of like God, I love again the line, I don't know what God is, but I know that God is. There's no way this ball of fire is 93 million miles away, magnetically holding all the planets in their orbit, and the sun and the earth turning 1,000 miles per hour like that, and then 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, and E equals MC squared, and blah, 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 all of this stuff. There's no way this all occurs without a brilliant, intelligent, divine essence behind all that is. And that what Jesus reveals to us, Jesus is the wisdom and the power and the intelligence of the living God incarnate. And he comes at it with one way. Love. Love is the highest vibrational energy. Love lights you up. Love makes you come alive. Love is the essence and the calling of every human being. But then, you know, you think, but like, and clearly, and Jesus was a nonviolence. You know, like nonviolence. So, but what do you do when you're attacked by Hamas? And they take your children and they take your wives and your family members. What are we supposed to do? You know, clearly you can see in the scripture where there does seem to be a sense of like, God is love, but I do think that when you look at love, it also includes justice. You gotta have justice. There's gotta be some kind of divine justice in the midst of being totally a loving, nonviolent God. So one of the things we had talked about on Wednesday was that Jesus was somebody that says, like, we're all waiting for God. They were waiting for God to intervene. God overthrow the Roman Empire. You know, God create this miracle. And Jesus was saying, he looked at it and he was like, you know something? If you notice it, it's not about us waiting for God to intervene. It's Jesus was saying, no, God's waiting for us to participate and collaborate with the living God. So when we come here, we're coming here to gain strength, to gain a fortitude, to remind ourselves that we come from love. Because God is saying to each one of us, I need you to step up and collaborate and build up this kingdom of heaven. Build it up in your families. Build it up with the people that you know. Build it up with forgiveness. Build it up with you being your highest self. That's the best thing that we can do. We're called to participate in building up the kingdom of God. And when Jesus is saying to us, when you come from a place of love, you come from the most powerful force on the planet Earth.